now, the officials are ready, the fighters are in the ring, and they are ready. So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the DJ Scottos What, Why Now podcast, where I'll be inviting special guests onto my show to ask them questions about their life and success stories. For this week's episode, I have another special guest to find out what it's like to be a member of the Narni Shakers, how she became a model, co-starring in a big Hollywood movie, running their own record label, producing singles with Snoop Dogg, why she became an animal rights campaigner, and becoming a top multi-genre international DJ, and also her plans for the future. I am really excited to introduce our very special guest today. Let's make some virtual noise for Charlotte Devaney.
Hey, thank you very much.
Firstly, thank you so much for joining my new podcast. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I'm all good. Still kind of getting over the summer, really. But I'm here. I'm good.
Before we start asking some questions, I do want to say, actually, obviously, I'm fortunate enough to be a part of this amazing wavy gang, which I think it's fair to say Charlotte has kept us sane in it through COVID.
Yeah.
And I have to say, you've been amazing. I think all the listeners that are part of the wavy gang have. But it's been great that you've given us sort of, I guess, access to you.
Yeah, no, and they're coming back for winter actually. So yeah. Yeah, the Wavy Gang, it was born in lockdown, you know, and they're still, it's really crazy that even, you know, a year or so on.
It's great. Do you know what? It's even funny because obviously, as you know, we've got the groups and stuff, and everyone's going, when's the next catch up? Obviously, because it shows people really enjoy those that interaction on the lives.
Yeah,
and
they do.
It's so great. Where you, and that's the good thing is you sort of. We all seem to feel like we know you. It's been nice to meet a lot of the other guys as well, because they've all become like sort of social media friends. So
Yeah.
So Charlotte, if you have or haven't seen my podcast so far, what I tend to do with this is to try and go back. Where were you born and brought up?
So it all started for me. I was born in East London. I was born in the Royal London Hospital, and lived in Camberwell in Denmark Hill until I was around 10 years old. Then my parents decided that they wanted to get out of London and bring me and my brother up in the countryside. So we moved up to Cambridgeshire, Huntingdon, and we lived in a pub.
Okay.
And then we moved from there and we moved to a small town called Spalding, which is near sort of in between Boston and sort of Peterborough, Boston, that kind of area. It's kind of in the middle of the two, do you know what I mean? And I lived there from the age of about 10 to the age of 19. And that's where I sort of I guess like I fell in love with drum and bass, and you know that's where I put my musical roots down. I guess like there was a strong drum and bass kind of love around there, and it was an exciting time when, you know, I don't know, like raves were just different back then. Do you know what I mean? It was an exciting time in music, let's just say. I'm not even going to say the year. But like it was, yeah. So that's where and we didn't really have much else to do around there. It was like a small town, everybody knew each other, and it was a very strong raving community. And we used to have everything from like drum and bass raves in the local pub to go into like Milwaukee's in Bedford, Pleasure Dome in Skegness, Sanctuary Milton Keynes. Like all of those places were like out where our go-tos, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Going out from the age of like 14, 15 to like these raves, which is terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
But you know, that's when I fell in love with drum and bass. But like I've always been into music as far as I can like remember from birth, really. I was, you know what I mean, pop music obviously as I was, you know, very young, and then I was into like, even from the age of about 12, 13, I was into Bob Marley. I was into like all kinds of different music, and like growing up my parents were very musical and like listened to all kinds of music, especially kind of black music like Tina Turner, Ella Fitzgerald, like all of that sort of stuff, Aretha Franklin, and you know.
Those tunes.
Yeah, definitely.
So
So
what?
yeah, so that's basically where it started for me. So yeah, you know, I became a bit of a country bumpkin really for
A bit different from East London.
a good few years, yeah. But there was actually a lot of Londoners up there, strangely, in Peterborough as well. Peterborough was obviously the nearest city,
Yeah.
and I ended up going to college there before I came back to London. But do you know what? I always like had that feeling of because I was a Londoner at heart, and obviously my mum and dad were from London. I always wanted to come back, and I always like had ambitions of like coming back to London, getting a really good job, and doing something in my life. Because I think like getting into raving so young, you know, you get yourself in a lot of trouble, and you do lots of silly things, and you know what I mean. You just it's a crazy life, especially when you're a
It
teenager.
can
Do you
be.
know what I mean?
It can. Yeah. I
And
was going to say, do you have any brothers or sisters? And then what sort of
yeah,
memories you have of them growing up? Are they into music or
yeah, my brother is into music. Yeah,
is he? Has he done any sort of DJing or anything like that, or is he just
he
basically
does
it's more of a
MCing. Yeah, but yeah, we don't talk unfortunately. So
okay?
he's had some troubled times, let's just say. But yeah, my brother is yeah, he's actually really good. He's an MC. But
Oh,
yeah,
wicked. Okay.
yeah.
So you mentioned the age of 14. Then what was the first party or rave you ever went to get into a place at that age?
You know what? Like the first, and do you know it's funny because I've got on my Facebook, I've actually got quite a lot of people from the Spalding area still on there. So they'll know what I'm talking about if they hear this one. So the first rave I ever went to, well, I was 14. It was called the Greenhouse Effect, and we used to have a local drum and bass rave in Spalding, right? And I can't remember if it was actually in a greenhouse. I can't really remember. We're talking a long time ago. So yeah, and you used to get some of the names come down there every now and again. Do you know what I mean? You used to get MC Nats and SS, and you used to get like the hardcore stroke jungle
Yeah.
lot come down there. So that was the first one. And then the first big rave I went to was the Pleasure Dome third birthday, which I mean, for anybody who lived up north or used to go raving up north, and obviously DJs and MCs that used to play up there, the Pleasure Dome was sick back in the day.
Yeah.
It was sick. It used to be on a place called Fantasy Island. Yeah, it was so sick. And I just don't think they do raves like that anymore. I don't know. Like it was like a proper theme park. It was crazy in there. So, but yeah, that was the first big rave I went to, and then
Just out
that
of interest, like Charlotte, with regards to being, because I remember being 14, I know like obviously girls seem to probably have more 2 or 3 years on us guys. What did you say to your parents to get to go to one of those events and stuff?
well, do you know what? Like my parents were really strict with me growing up, and like they were always like a lot more lenient on my brother, but they like being a girl, obviously, like my parents were really strict, um, especially my dad. Um, and I think I rebelled because, like, basically, when we were kids, when we was like early teens and that, we used to hang out like in the town centre a lot, you know, as you do, drinking like Thunderbirds and White Lightning and all. And like I was never allowed out. Like all my friends at school were like, "Oh, you're coming out tonight? You know, you're coming out. You're coming down the bus station to hang out," and you know, and I was never allowed. And like my parents were very strict, so I rebelled. So it got to the point where I was like, I want to go out and I want to do what my friends are doing. So basically, I ran away from home. I think I was 14 at the time. And then after that, they were so worried that night that after that, they kind of like let me do what I wanted to do. Because I was just sort of like, listen, if you don't let me do what I want to do, then I'm going to do it anyway. Like, you're not going to stop me, kind of
Yeah.
thing, which is kind of what I'm like in life anyway. You know what I mean? The kind of that side of Charlotte came out very early, you know, and like even coming through my life, I've always been like that, you know, I've always been like, I'm going to do whatever I want and nothing is ever going to stop me.
Yeah.
So that's how it was. Like, yeah, like
So,
actually that night, yeah, what I was talking about the greenhouse effect was that night I ran away from home because they wouldn't let me out. You know
wow.
what I mean? So I was just like, I'm going there, and I'm going to take my first E, and I'm going to basically, I'm going. I don't care, and they're not going to stop me. And I can remember being in, I can't remember whose car it was, but I can remember being in the back of my mate's car with this girl called Vesna, actually, still on my Facebook. Shout out Vesna Fenson, right? And we were listening to the Jungle Mania. I think it was Jungle Mania or Jungle something. There was a compilation album. I think it was Jungle Mania. And I remember being in the back of this car, like singing along to like Original Nutter and Incredible and Sweet, what is it, Sweet Loving or whatever. I'm being like, you know what I mean? We're going raving. So yeah.
I miss those days, you know, because I remember like when you started talking about the car and listening to music, the tape packs that I used to, because we're probably
it was a tape pack. It wasn't even a CD. It was a tape pack.
I love that. I remember like, you know, you get the Helter Skelters, the one. Whatever it might be, Jungle Mania and stuff. And I remember we'd go up there, and by the time you go sort of 3 or 4 trips to Sanctuary and stuff, you'd remember every single lyric of the MC. You know what song was coming on. Those were like you say, I can relate to that. When you're in the car, you remember who that DJ was and that song was.
I just remember the Jungle. I'm sure it was Jungle Mania or Jungle something. Jungle. It was. I probably even still got it in my archives somewhere, but it was the compilation of the time, and it was actually the compilation that got me into jungle, because I remember buying it and listening to it on my Walkman at school.
When did and how did the Narni Shakers all come about?
Obviously, as I just said, I've always been into the raves, and I've always, you know, I always loved the music, and I was a raver. So up until 2001, I was raving. I was going raving, and I moved. Like, I left the countryside when I was 19, and I moved up to London, and I got a job, and that only lasted a couple of years, and then I got onto the rave scene in London. So I was going to, like, not just drum and bass, then I was going to the garage raves. You know, I got into the early garage raves, which was an amazingly exciting time. You know what I mean? Like, I was going Iron Apple. I was going Pure Silk. I was going to Coliseum. I was going Twice as Nice. I was going Gas Club. I was going to all of them places, as well as, because, like, I think, like, drum and bass went for a bit of a dark period.
It did,
around that. Yeah, it sort of went I think it was like when the kind of Ed Rush and Optical kind of sound came in, and a lot of the girls especially were just not into it. It was just like, because obviously I came from jungle and hardcore and an early jump up in drum and bass, right? And then it changed. Basically, the music really changed in about 99, 2000. The music really changed. So we were still going out to it, but we just weren't as into it. And then garage came along, and it was just like, wow, you know what I mean? We've got vocals, we've got the breakbeat still. You know, I remember going to Cookies and Cream at the Leisure Lounge, and I remember standing there. I think it was like my 20th birthday or something. And I remember standing at the back with my mate going, wow, this music, it sounds like jungle. It sounds a bit like jungle. Like, it's got that flavor. I love it. And yeah, so I was on both circuits, right? So I was like really into the garage, obviously started in the jungle. And then when I moved to London, back to London, I was going to Metalheads and all of those kind of things, at Blue Note, and, you know, so I was still kind of into it. So anyway, then we were going out. We were going out everywhere. I used to go Moon Dance at Camden Palace, which was another place that I used to go to a lot. Camden Palace, whether it was like for garage things or whether it was for jungle, old school type events. And one night, a friend of mine, Little Simon D, who R.I.P. because he's no longer with us, but he was the son of a lady that I was lodging with, my mum's friend at the time. And he was like, you know, do you want to go down to Moon Dance at Camden Palace? And my mate Mark from Ratpack, Lipmaster Mark, he'll put you on the guest list. Because Simon used to like be a DJ, and he was like an A&R for Arista and stuff. And he was, you know, really connected within the scene. So Mark was the first person I really met, like, on the London circuit that, you know, was an artist really, that introduced me to a lot of people. So I remember that night, me and my friend went down there in our latex snakeskin outfits, right? I've still got pictures from that night. And we were like, yeah, it was just the two of us and me and my mate Sarah. And we met Mark outside, and he got us in and everything. And then after that, became really good friends with Ratpack, and used to go around with them everywhere. Like we used to follow them everywhere, like all the things they were doing at the time. And then one other night, then there was two other girls. So me and Sarah, we were going out together because we used to work together, because I was a travel agent, right? So that's an even funnier story, but that's another day. But
Okay.
I was a travel agent when I left home. I used to work at a student travel company.
Right.
And she worked there as well. And then she had another mate called Marina, who was like a Thai looking girl. And then there was another friend of mine called Kelly, who was like a long-term friend of mine. She was actually from Kent, but she lived up in Spalding as well. And we both kind of moved down to London at the same time. And she, we all just were into the rave scene. Do you know what I mean? Me and Kelly had started going out. She was going out from like 12 years old. She used to go Milwaukee's and Bedford, Sanctuary, everything when she was 12. And anyway, we was mates. So the four of us linked up, basically. And then we started going out. So it wasn't just, it was always the four of us. Do you know what I mean? We were like a kind of, you know what I mean, a dream team. We used to always go to all the raves together, be it garage or drum and bass and jungle, old school, everything. We were everywhere together. And one night we was at Moondance at Camden Palace, and we were all wearing the same outfits. We used to go out and we used to wear all the same outfits, or we all used to be in like coordinating stuff. And we were like, you know what I mean? Because I think at one point we wanted to be a girl band. And I remember like in the early days, like that's what we were. Yeah, we're gonna be a girl group. Because back then it was like that was the thing. There were so many girl groups and boy groups. And anyway, we used to go out and we used to just have it. When I tell you we used to have it, you see how I have it behind the decks?
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Right,
you know what I mean? I always loved the music so much. Like we used to go on the dance floor. I mean, I couldn't do it now, flipping it. In high heels as well, because we weren't going out in no trainers. We were dressed up to the nines back then. We were going out and we were having it all night, like all night on the dance floor. Like, and one night we was with Ratpack, and Mark was like, we was having it on the dance floor, like we used to do all this like booty shaking, Narni shaking basically, and just have it. We used to be on the floor doing like all this crazy shit, right? And one night Mark was like, look at them, it's the Narni Shakers. Because we were obsessed with Ali G and that at the time as well, because that was the time of the Ali G show, and Borat obviously a bit after that. And we used to sing Ride the Punani. We used to sing it all the time. We used to be just going on crazy, yeah. And one night he stood there and he pointed at us and he was like, it's the Narni Shakers. And then that was it. After that, we were like, wow, that name is amazing. Like, that name is amazing. And then like from there, like, you know, we decided we wanted to be dancers. You know what I mean? We were like, you know, I think me personally, myself, like even from my early days of raving, I was always obsessed with the dancers in raves, and basically from there we were like going to dance classes, and so I was never like trained at uni or anything, but I was like I used to do loads and loads of dance classes, and you know we from there we decided like, well, that's what we wanted to do, and we hooked up with the old TNT crew who were like basically the sort of dancers of the time before us. They were like, you know, the late 90s, mid 90s to late 90s, early 2000s. They were like everywhere, you know. And Terry, who's again no longer with us, but she was an absolute legend in the scene. Like she used to do all the One Nations, and her crew are amazing, you know. They used to do like routines, and she was the one that kind of molded us, really, you know. She trained us and got us doing all the routines and made us into a stage show, basically. Took us from like being four crazy girls that just loved the music and were just so passionate about life and the music and didn't give a shit about anything. You know, I've said this before in interviews. It was a time when you could be yourself. Yeah. There was no internet and social media. Yeah. There was no like, people were not on their phones constantly in raves. It was purely music. That was it. And me personally, and I don't want to sound like an old fart when I say this, but you know, and I'm very much always looking to the future and stuff, but it was a different time and it was better than it is now. You know, it was different. It was so different, you know.
Was there any like you mentioned TNT stuff, and obviously I remember them, and they were like you
Yeah.
say, ones that were around for years. Were there any like beef for them, or were they all?
Yeah, there was. So basically, we were trained by them, and we effectively like took over their we took their crown, really, because we came in and we were mental, you know. We were four beautiful girls, all different looking, you know. We were determined to be the best and the biggest, you know. Like, I used to go on stage and, you know, again, it was before Facebook even, you know. There was like, it was in the later stages of the Narni Shakers, it was the early days of MySpace. But before that, websites were there just about. So we had a website, but there was no social media. So, you know, there wasn't really any other way of getting yourself out there apart from telling people who the fuck you was. That's it. Yeah. So I used to go on stage, and Ragga Twins and Skibber, God rest his soul, would tell you this. All of them, IC3, Foxy, all of them, will tell you. I used to come on stage and be like, yo, make sure you tell everyone we're the Narni Shakers. Make sure we're the Narni Shakers. We're not just dancers, we're the Narni Shakers. And like, I remember the first time, I came on stage, and I'll never forget this night. And this is why me and Ragga Twins will continue to always be so close, right? It was at One Nation at Stratford Rex, and I went up to Flinty and I was like, yeah, we're the Narni Shakers. And he was like, the what? He was like, the what? Because the name was just so out there. Obviously, with like most of them being from Jamaican culture or whatever, they were just like, oh my God. So they made up songs about us and everything. Like the Punani Nani Nani Shaker.
I do remember you guys, because I say I was a big drum and bass jungle raver myself. But one thing I would say, Charlotte, and what hasn't changed, is that you are an unbelievable entrepreneur and yourself. Because even then, somebody that's, you know, even though you had lots of confidence, it sounds like, to go up and sort of like really promote yourself. You can't do it through social media, but you've got to go to that stage and go up to MCs, and like you say, you're good friends with them now. But at the beginning, you get to know these guys. It just shows you, because you haven't changed your energy, the way you promote yourself.
But I'm not afraid to say that I do think it was better then. I think it was better when there was no, the egos were different, the competition was different. You know, people were a lot more pure and a lot more together. I don't like that now, and I think we saw a remnants of the old school in lockdown, because people came together in a completely different way, and that was one thing that was nice about it, you know.
I agree.
But back then it was a very magical and very different time, and I'm so grateful to have been part of it. But going back to the TNT dancers, yes, there was rivalry. I mean, we were young girls, and you know, they saw our success and wanted that. You know what I mean? Even though we came from them, you know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff that happened, and actually Mickey Finn will tell you about it, because we was on his agency for a bit, and there was a one time when all the Narni Shakers fell out, and we split into two sets of Narni Shakers.
Oh, really?
And and he was like, he had our back. Big shout, Mickey. But I haven't really changed. Going back to what you said, I've still got that spirit of a Narni Shaker, and you know, getting back into playing drum and bass after like obviously years of being a multi-genre DJ, and getting back into playing full drum and bass sets since lockdown. It's mad how many people remember the Narni Shakers and how many people remember me from those times.
From there, is that when this kind of the modelling start to come in?
Probably about 3 or 4 years after starting being a Narni Shaker. And I was a model. I was doing all the lads.
Great gigs as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I got some front covers of like lots of magazines, and like travelled all over the world doing shoots. And you know, it was a staple part of what I was doing for a long time. And obviously, again, it was a different time. It was, you know, I was much more on the glamour side of things, and it was a big industry back then. You know, it was a big industry thriving. But I think, like with social media, like Instagram and all of that sort of thing, well, once that got going, it did kill it. You know, the lads mag world, it died really. And I think like with like Me Too and the way that women are perceived now is very, very different. I guess.
Yeah. So what would you say your biggest achievement was in modelling?
Like I did a lot of like a magazine like covers and stuff, like Loaded, and from the modeling I got into doing acting as well. So I was around that time I was dancing, modeling and acting. And obviously my biggest achievement would be the film with Simon Pegg and Megan
Yeah.
Fox,
I was
which
gonna get to that,
was
actually.
crazy how that came about to
Yeah.
be. And I did loads of stuff. Not just that was my biggest film, but I did loads of films and like adverts and loads. I've done EastEnders multiple times. Like I've done cameos on EastEnders. I've done loads of things. Do you know, like so many things. I can't even remember half of it, to be honest. But yeah, like
I was going to ask you about that actually, because obviously when again I didn't know you did acting. I remember one day I think you sent us the waving group that look at a little clip of which I've done as a part of the promo where you're dancing and then you go
oh
back.
yeah, with Simon
I
Pegg.
didn't know that at all, so I found that hilarious. But so
Mm.
which I didn't know. So you've done other stuff in regards to like acting and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I've done
again,
like
were you
loads.
trained as well? Did you do any of this sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I did go to like evening school and stuff to do acting, and my dancing training was literally from dance classes and learning on the job. I think like my best training has always been on the job for stuff. Like a lot of people will go to university and stuff like that, but I always have found that learning along the way and learning on the job is like has always been a way that I've learned. I just think I'm an all-rounder, and I an exhibitionist and a natural born performer, I
Yeah,
guess.
I agree with that.
Without sounding too big-headed.
No, no, it's not.
But
No, it's
like,
not.
you know, I
I think
am
I've got
like,
it.
and even
Yeah,
even like even like with the way I am with my DJing, which, I've really kind of shaped this persona now, I guess, which has just happened. Um, that the way I am when I DJ, the crazy kind of it's a very natural thing. It's not
yeah.
put on, it's not
It's not fake,
staged,
or you're not doing
because
it for. Yeah, it's
it's not
it's real.
like,
Yeah,
like I guess like there is a lot of pressure on DJs to perform and like get the crowd going and all of that these days, but I just do it because I love it. Like, and it really has stemmed from the Narni Shaker days, like, um, and all of that experience I got from being a Narni Shaker
yeah.
helped me with confidence, I guess, like to do the acting and the modeling as well, because I was a glamour model, so I wasn't like shy. Do you know what I mean? Um,
When you say that, Charlotte, about there's a lot of pressure on performing and stuff. Actually, I did a podcast with Harry Schotter, which I mentioned to you, and one of the things he said when we were talking about RIP Storming, he said when they were performing on SSS, basically, he said that because Stormby was so like
yeah,
crazy in the way he emceed, he actually said he learnt so much from him because he was like,
yeah,
God, I can't just stand there and start spit bars. And he said he learnt so much from him because of the way he was, and it really helped him develop as an MC. And like obviously with Skibberdy and stuff, RIP to him, and he learnt so
yeah.
much from him. So what I'm saying is actually it shows people like yourself that I think there should be more of it, because I love going to
Oh
raves.
yeah, no,
What
and do you know
frustrates
what?
me when people just stand there just like
Yeah, a
not
lot of
look happy.
people say
Yeah,
that to me as well. Like, and don't get me wrong, I get my fair share of stick online. Like there are a lot of dickheads out
of
there,
course
and
they are.
we call
Yeah,
them batty-owls in the wavy gang.
you should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we call them batty-owls. That's it, as you know, Scottos here
yeah.
in the wavy gang. But there's a lot of hate out there. I mean, I'm just out here to spread love and positivity
It's
and
infectious,
do
Charlotte.
my
I love
thing.
it.
And you know what? I'll always just be myself. And like I say, it's a natural thing. I ain't putting it on. It's a natural thing. Some of that 90s vibe into the present day, because like back in the day, there was a lot more characters. There was a lot more like performers than there is now. There seems to be a lot of most DJs are very, I don't know if they're self-conscious or want to be cool and don't want to be a performer. I don't know. But like I seem to get a lot of stick anyway. As much as I've got a lot of love and amazing amount of supporters,
Yeah.
which I'm so grateful for, there's quite a few people I see online that say they hate me, and I'm like, oh God,
Yeah.
why though? Because you
Exactly.
don't know
Don't
me.
know you exactly. And
Yeah, you
there's
don't know me.
jealousy, and everybody that I
Yeah, and I don't
see on
care.
here.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Trolls have
it
never
does affect
bothered
people.
me.
That shot.
Yeah, I
I
think as
think.
long as the good outweighs the bad, like I'd say 90% of it is amazing. So you're always going to get a 10% that are like not going to like you, especially when you're a bit of a Marmite person like me, who I am very out there. I'm not afraid to be myself. So people, not everyone's going to like that, but I'm fine with that. I don't care.
Talking about DJs, I understand Fabio and Randall were like your teachers to become a
Yeah.
DJ. Obviously, Fabio, we know. Obviously, that's changed since then. But so when did you decide you wanted to be a DJ?
So that was quite early on as well. Like, um, I started messing around and wanting to be a DJ in about 2005, 2004, maybe even before that, because I was on the radio, yeah. So I started out on the radio in about 03, 04. And I used to be on a radio station called Invincible to start with. It was in Hackney. And I remember every week I used to do it. I used to drag my vinyls up there. And I used to see DJ Ron actually every single week.
Oh
I used to
wow!
see him. He used to be in the studio downstairs. And then Normski used to come on after me as well. And he always used to come in and like do some craziness on the end of my show. So that was my sort of entrance into it. But I didn't start DJing in clubs till 07. It was a long time because like I was literally just on the radio. And my first mixing lessons were with Randall, who was a really, really close friend of mine for like quite a few years. We used to go everywhere together. And then LSD, he gave me a couple of lessons.
Love
And
LSD.
also Mark from Ratpack as well
Wow.
gave me a couple of lessons. So I had lessons from all of them, but the main person that helped me become a proper club DJ was Fabio.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've been together for like next year, we've been together 20 years. And
Wow.
yeah, and we've been together a long, long, long time. And yeah, he was the one that really intensely gave me lessons. I mean, back then it was like you didn't just learn how to DJ overnight. Like now you're seeing like DJs coming up in a couple of hours, they can learn to be a DJ. It wasn't like that back then. I've got to tell you, I was practicing for days and weeks and months on those flipping techniques, mate. Yeah. And like, it was hard.
There's no BPM, is there? There's no BPM. There's no silly waveform.
No, I found it very hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. And then after that, so I didn't start DJing clubs till 07. And actually, my first ever gig was in Greece. And when I started in the clubs, because I started out on the radio playing drum and bass and jungle, but when I started in the clubs, I was playing hip hop and R&B, right. And then moved into EDM because I was a huge hip hop fan, and I still am. It's still like probably up there with one of my favorite musics. Right. And at that time, the R&B and hip hop was amazing. Like that was a sick time for R&B and hip hop. 07, 06, 07. So I started, I started playing in the clubs, playing that, and that was when CDs had come in. So CDJs were like, were the thing. So that's what I sort of really had my intense courses learning on, you know. But there was no sync button, and there was nobody, you know what I mean? There was no like Ableton to cut tunes at the same speed, which I know a lot of DJs do, and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's how I learned, you know what I mean? And it took me a long time to learn to mix with my ears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've all become lazy now because we've got all these things, which is not, and there's nothing wrong with it. We all do it. So it's nothing wrong with DJing with the things that you've got available to you now. But I did, because I do see comments sometimes online, people going, "Oh, is she playing the mix CD, or is she, you know what I mean? Like, is she for real?" And you know, it's like, yes, I am. You know what I mean? I've been DJing for years, and I did my months and months of learning to beat sync. And
just a couple of questions on the DJ and stuff, but I just want to, with regards to Fabio, you mentioned 20 years, which is absolutely amazing. Two things actually. One, how did you guys? I know how you guys met, obviously, but how did you decide to become a couple? Where did you go on your first date? I know it sounds a bit random question, but people like to know these sort of things, right? So, how did Fabio officially ask you out, and where did you go on your first date?
We went on our first date to Nando's, actually. Yeah, I went to Nando's.
Shout out to Nando's. You can't beat
Nando's.
Nando's.
You got to love a bit of Nando's.
All right, okay. I'll ask you another question then. What's the secret for being together? Bear in mind you work in the same industry for nearly 20 years. What's been the secrets for you guys staying together?
Actually, going back to your other question, I will say, I'll tell you quickly, like how we met. We obviously met in the scene. That's how we met. Like me being a dancer and him being Fabio. You know, he was around, and you know that's how we met. But moving on to like, how come we've been together so long? Do you know what? There's a few things. One is that we're best friends, first and foremost. Like, he's like my flipping right arm. You know what I mean? He is a wonderful person anyway. He's a wonderful person. And we just get on. We've still, after all these years, still have so much to talk about all the time.
Wicked.
So like, when I haven't seen him, say we're both on tour or both away, we're both working, we don't always see each other all the time because we're very busy, right? But when we do see each other, I look forward to it because I always want to tell him what I've been up to. You know, we're always gossiping. We're like a couple of gossips. Plus, like, we love the same music. You know, we love hip hop and R&B for a start. That's always been our first love.
Right.
Like, that has always been a real staple in our relationship from when we met in 2003 to like now. Like, we're still hardcore into hip hop trap music. Like, we still search for it online all the time. So we're very much into that. And just, yeah, bit like, and also giving each other personal space. I think that is a very important thing in a relationship, and like trust as well. So like, we're not paranoid of each other ever.
Yeah.
Like, we're just, we do our thing. We have very separate lives, but we're together at the same time.
No,
And that is a secret. That's a secret. And you know, not many couples stay together, especially in the scene, especially like artists, two artists together, you know. But we are just very chilled.
No, do you know what? One of the things you said first about your best friends, I think that's a brilliant sort of part of people that last for a long time, because you've got to have a laugh at you and enjoy it. And so sorry, I'm just being a bit nosy, by the way, because people know Fabio, because obviously, like you, is you know, quite a big person in the industry. I've always wanted to know how you guys met, and like you say, how you kept kept it that long going. But I didn't realise it's 20 years. So last question then on that: what are you going to do to celebrate 20 years?
You're gonna have to wait and see. That is the answers
Big
to that.
surprise, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With regards to the DJ, one of the things I would say I'm very impressed with you is, like you mentioned, you are a multi-genre DJ. So
Yeah.
I've seen you play at different events, from rave tots, from obviously some garage events and drum and bass and stuff.
And I love drum and bass and jungle. I love house. I love garage. I love bass line. I love all types of music. I love pop music as well. I love it. As, you know, if it's a good tune, I don't really care what genre it is. Okay. But I'm obsessed, always have been obsessed with hip hop culture. I'm obsessed with like a lot of the artists. A lot of the artists have really inspired me to be who I am today. You know, like the likes of Missy Elliott and, you know, Snoop and even Nicki Minaj. I love her. Beyonce, like they're just my ultimate idols. Do you know what I mean?
There's not many DJs like you though, is there, Charlotte?
Yeah, I am out there on my own. I think since lockdown, I've tried to kind of scale it down a bit, you know, so I don't play hip hop and R&B or EDM or anything like that anymore. You know, I went through 10 years of like traveling the whole world playing that music. You know, I'd literally have traveled all over, and it was an amazing experience. I've been to every country. You know, it was a time when that music was, you know, big, and it was at the start of the female DJ boom. So yeah, trust me, I've done my
badges, whatever you want to call them. You've done it.
Yeah, because like, I spent years in the West End as well. Like when I was a hip hop and R&B and EDM DJ, I spent years having residencies in the West End. You know, those are the years that I learned my trade. You know, I was doing, you know, in the West End, it was, you know, you came in and you played all night. It was like 5 hours and you got 150, 200 quid, 300 quid. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm doing now, by the way, Charlotte.
Huh?
I'm doing that as well now.
I mean, that's what you do though. So that's what you do when you're coming up, you know. And I spent years in the West End doing that, and you know, that it was a good time because it was a training ground for me to be who I am now. Again, it was a very different time, but I'm glad I did it, and I made a lot of good contacts doing that. But I have definitely come back now to where it all started for me. You know, I'm back in the rave scene, which I never left the rave scene, but as a DJ, I was in the West End and I was on that sort of VIP circuit, and I was traveling around the world. I mean, I've played at some of the most amazing clubs all over the world. I've done festivals all over the world, like playing that music, you know. And obviously I've made a lot of that music as well, and had
I'm going to come on to that actually, because I'm so
Sorry.
impressed by the way. But just on the last bit of the DJing side of stuff, which part of the DJing events that you're most proud of?
God.
Sorry, this is probably choosing like what dog you like the
Trying to
best.
remember everything now. I've got a terrible
know.
memory. So, yeah, I mean, I've done, like I said, I've done some amazing gigs over the years, and there's a few that stand out to me. Like, like I did a huge festival on the beach in Barbados. That was amazing.
Wow.
I did a huge festival in Malaysia on the beach, like for Carlsberg. They built like a huge stage on the beach near Kuala Lumpur. But since lockdown, and coming back into playing D&B and garage, and really coming back to my roots, I've done some great events as well. I've played a lot of festivals this summer, which I'm really, really excited about. It was an amazing summer. Yeah, I feel like there's loads of exciting things to come.
I feel like you've just started, because you have that energy, like what you just said there as well. I feel like you've got that fire in your belly, like it's so much more to come. And
there are days when this industry really does get to you, and it's not easy. And as artists, we have this persona of like being happy and just everything's great all the time, but it's not. And it is a very soul destroying at times business. You get a lot of doors slammed in your face. You get a lot of things that don't always go your way, but if you love it, you just have to keep going, really.
We'll talk about your love as well. We'll move on to your label and your producing skills. People that are listening to this would love to know the story really about the release you made called Flip It with Snoop Dogg, which is unbelievable, isn't it? Like to work with someone like that. So for people that don't know, how did that all come about?
So basically, I started making music in about 2011, 2012. And I've got to send a big shout out to Carlos C, who at the time was running a company called The Cutting Suite. And he was the one that first got me into the studio and started me making music. So I made a parody record called Nice, and it's online if you want to go and have a look at it, everyone. It's like the video will never be beaten. It's the funniest thing ever. So we all dressed up because I was obsessed with Ali G and Borat, as I said. Like, we just love Borat so much. Me and all my girls were Narni Shakers. We were just like, we did a video to this song that was called Nice, and we were all dressed as Borat, and it was a Call on Me parody. And basically someone who worked with Snoop saw it, because it went viral at the time. I mean, viral back then is not what viral is now, but like it was in the papers, and it was on Lad Bible. Yeah, someone saw it and they hit me up, and would you like to work with Snoop? And I was just like,
I'm not sure actually. Let me come back.
Not sure. Let me just check my diary. I'll check my secretary. So that's how that happens. And then I paid for it all myself though. I did pay him, and I paid for the first video and all the promotion for it and everything myself. So it first came out and it was independent release. And then it got signed to Universal in Australia originally, and they loved the song. And then they got it reproduced by a very famous EDM producer called Ivan Goff, who'd worked with like Swedish House Mafia and a lot of people. And yeah, they produced the second version, which blew up in quite a few countries, and it got signed by Capitol Records in Los Angeles, and they flew me out there, shot a massive video, and that's how that came about, basically.
So for people that don't know much about running the label and producing and stuff, how hard is that?
Yeah, I mean, from those days, from the early days, I didn't have my own studio, and I didn't. I was learning, basically. I was like using other people's studios, working with other producers, working with other engineers and stuff. It's hard. It's really hard, and it's really expensive. Like, I've had my own studio with Joe, the Wizard, who I always talk about. He's my kind of manager and business partner. I've had that with him for the last 5 or 6 years. And we now buy everything together, and we put money into everything together, and we're lucky enough to be making money now. So, but before that, I was working with various different people and working in various different studios, and it's expensive and it's hard. When I first started making music, there wasn't Spotify and And like it was the early days of YouTube, and you know, it was a lot harder to get music out there, and you had to spend a lot of money on promotional companies, and you know, a campaign for a song was thousands. Now it's different. You can put it up on Spotify, you see how it does it get playlisting? You know, you can put things on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, blah, 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 all of that. That's how you get your music out there now. Before it was not like that. So you did have to invest a lot more money. Now what I do with my label, I put my songs out there, I'll see what they do. And if you know, some of them do well, some of them don't, and then I'll just keep going. Because I've got my own studio and because I've got all my own equipment and I've got Joe, you know, I have that facility to keep putting music out now and just keep making more and more and more. My experience being signed was not that good, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, like it blew the song up and it gave me opportunities. I met a lot of people and had a lot of money spent and stuff like that, but it wasn't the most enjoyable experience. And I love having my own label. I like being in control of my own masters, and I'm in a position now where I'm actually making money from my label.
People that are listening, by the way, if you do go onto Spotify, you'll be very, very amazed and not surprised. I wasn't, but millions of people have listened to some of your tunes. I think the one that we were talking about, I think it's 20 million or something, like crazy amounts of and that's unbelievable. And that's not just a UK, that's global listeners and stuff. So
I think I've made like 20 odd songs, 25.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. And to talk about songs, how's the new one going, Goat?
Oh, well, I've got two. Well, so basically, I've got Goat, which the original of Goat actually came out in March, and it did so well on streaming that I decided to shoot a video later on because, like, I had a really busy summer and stuff, so I didn't really have time to do it. But so I shot a video and I just put the video out a couple of weeks ago. So that one's, yeah, I love that song. It's actually one of my favorite songs I've ever made. I really love that song. And then I put a song out the other day. It was a collaboration with a female DJ that I've been sort of, you know, backing, and who's a really lovely girl called Amy Lauren. She's a house DJ. We put a collaboration out with another guy called Jack Sink, who's a French DJ. Okay. We put a collab out. It's called Fire on My Feet. It's like a bass stroke tech house banger. It's more for the clubs than that, but yeah. I really like it. So that came out the other day, and I've actually got, hopefully before the end of the year, if not it'll be in January, I've got my first drum and bass release coming out. So although like I've had a lot of drum and bass remixes on my songs, I've never actually made a drum and bass track. So I have actually got a few that I'm working on. So next year there'll be a lot of drum and bass records coming out. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I've got some bangers in the works.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about which is obviously something for me was unbelievable to see that you were part of a Hollywood comedy movie with the likes of Simon Pegg, Megan Fox, and the film's called How to Lose Friends, by the way, with 8 people. How the hell did you get involved in that? Because that is unbelievable achievement.
Yeah, no, it is one of my biggest achievements. So what happened was I still have an acting agent actually, but I had an acting agent back then, and I was obviously in the whole entertainment bubble, modeling, dancing, acting, and I was doing glamour modeling, as I said. So I got a call from my agent to say that you know, they were looking for someone to cast for this role, and would I do it? Because I had to play a transsexual. So me being crazy Charlotte, always up for absolutely anything, and that definitely hasn't changed. I was like, yeah. So I went and cast for it, and apparently they had somebody else originally cast for the role who was actually transsexual, but they apparently they couldn't act, so they were like, we need a proper actor. So I went in and cast for it and got the role, and it was honestly one of the best experiences.
Oh, it should be.
You know, I got to work with Megan Fox, Simon Pegg, Jeff Bridges, Kirsten Dunst, Gillian Anderson. You know, it was Miriam Margolis. It was proper A-list, and I'm still good friends with Simon Pegg today. You know, we follow each other on Instagram. He's always posting my music in his stories, and you know, commenting on my stuff. He's a top guy.
That's great though, by the way, because I know normally I would imagine, and you could probably correct me if I'm wrong here, because when you do these sort of things, I guess you are doing a job and then you go and do.
Yeah,
you go on.
You don't especially with those kind of, you know, sort of more A-list people, you don't really stay in touch with them, you know. But Simon Pegg is such a lovely guy, and he wasn't online for a long time. He wasn't online for years, so he lost touch. But then he set up an Instagram account about a year ago, and we followed each other, and you know, it was really nice to connect. But you know, he's still killing it, and he's, you know, he's
He's a great actor.
yeah, he's
What was
wicked, man.
what were the other actors like though? Just give us a little bit of an insight to people that have never.
They were all really cool, but like he was the one that stood out, and you know, was always very friendly to me. And like he had a little dog at the time. He's always like miniature schnauzers, and he had a little dog, and like we're obviously both into dogs and stuff.
So, as you mentioned dogs, then, so I did want to ask about your being involved as an animal rights campaigner. What made you do that, Charlotte, out of interest, and what's kind of like what's involved in being part of that sort of campaign?
Well, I mean, I've always been an animal lover, and you know, I have 3 dogs of my own, and I've always been very passionate about animal rights. I think it's growing up. My mum, you know, my mum's very into animals. My mum's always been vegetarian. I was brought up like to really respect and love animals. So, um, yeah, it's something I've always been into. I mean, I went out to Sri Lanka twice, and I've worked in a dog sanctuary out there. I still support that charity. I support a lot of animal charities. I've done a lot of campaigning and a lot of stuff for animals over the years, and there's a lot of animal charities that will hit me up and ask me to post stuff and whatnot. With regards to PETA, though, if you're talking about the avocado campaign, I got involved with them. I think I've always been a supporter, and we sent them the song, which was my 2018 song with Rich the Kid, who is another big American artist. We put him on the feature of the song called Avocado, and we sent it to PETA, and we were just like, you know, what do you think about this? Do you want to get involved and do a crazy avocado style campaign? And it was really successful. We made like a short mini film kind of I don't know what you'd call it, comedy skit. I don't know. We made that, and then they shot that, and then I did a shoot for them in a bath of avocados, and you know, it was a big campaign. It went viral, millions of views that did. So
Well done to you, by the way, for doing that.
that was just like go vegan kind of campaign. It was like an awareness campaign for veganism, really, which is something I'm very passionate about. And you know, I've not eaten meat for years, and I've been a vegan for a few years, and it's just like something I've always been passionate about. And you know, I'll always be kind to animals and always love animals.
That's amazing. Would you say it has been the biggest success?
You've touched on quite a few of my achievements, but we haven't even mentioned, you know, what I did in lockdown really so much. You know, like the hologram sessions is something I'm really proud of. More recently, you know, I'm proud of a lot of things, man. I'm proud of like all the music I've released, especially the independent stuff that I've had millions of streams on, and I've done that myself. I've had, you know, I am very proud of the hologram sessions because it is a one-off. It's a one. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's managed to copy me, which is crazy. You know, I'm very proud of that. The recent episode I did with Big Nasty, I'm super proud of that one. That one is one of my favorites, but there's been like loads of really good ones, you know.
You still haven't to this day told the secret.
No, like I said to you before, I don't even know how he does it, the wizard. So, you know, Joe, I've got one coming as well that is going to blow everyone's minds as well. I got one.
You know, by the way, they're brilliant. They are great, and I've obviously watched every single one of them from talk about how it really started by accident with the Skibbity, and then it kind of all gone from there. But I've loved them all. I'll say one of my favourite ones, I would say, and I'll say it because it's more difficult for you, I guess. But I really like the one with was it Belly Man? Was the one that was in the taxi? It was Belly Man, wasn't it?
Belly Man and Trigger. Yeah,
that was the one. That was one of my. I'd say that was my favourite one. But they're great. They're all really good. And the artists that you get on to do it, fair play to you, you know, because they're amazing. And we're always looking forward to you. Give us a little. You always ask us in the way we go. Who do you think I've got coming up next? And we're all guessing. And you go no. So, but no,
I mean, I love all of them, but I think Big Nasty, the last one, I was so proud of that one. That one's amazing.
I didn't know he could. I didn't know he could like sort of spit bars and stuff. I've never seen him.
Didn't
Like, I'm
ya?
not really into that music, that side of the music and
Yeah,
stuff. So
grime. No, I mean
other
the
than
grime's not really my forte, you know what I mean? But obviously when I knew I had him coming on, like I knew I had to come correct with some grime, you know.
did you know him quite well then? Did you,
I've
Charlotte?
known
Or
not yeah, I've known him for a few years. And he's a lovely guy, super lovely guy. And I've been trying to get him since the start to do it. And he got gassed up by the Screwfizzer one, another one of my favorite ones as well. He smashed it. And he saw that and he was just like, yeah, I want to do it. So he hit me up and he was like,
wicked.
yeah.
What are you looking forward to in the future, personally and professionally?
Just looking forward to like carrying on the journey, really. Looking forward to more hologram sessions. Like I said, that's really very much what I'm about right now. Looking forward to releasing new music. You know, like I said, I've got a lot of drum and bass records that I've been working on this year that I'm still perfecting because I'm not quite happy with them. But yeah, they're coming. And that's it really, just enjoying my life and being grateful to still be here after all these years of being in this industry, doing various things. But yeah,
My last question, which I ask every single person, it does sound a bit deep, but I do like to ask it. How do you want to be remembered?
it's quite an important question actually, because I was actually saying this to Bellyman the other day. We did a pyro radio because I'm back on pyro radio now as well, which is
Oh,
really
wicked.
cool. Yeah, I've started doing sessions on there again, which by the way was one of my first stations that I ever played on back in the day. So shout out to the pyro gang. um we did a session which was really successful actually, on over like 50 odd thousand views on that, from back in July. And we were sitting in the car afterwards having a chat, as we do. Me and Bellyman always put the world to rights. And we were talking about his car bars series and my hologram sessions. And we were saying, these things like this are our legacy. Even with music videos, these things will be remembered for this forever. When we're gone, like, these things will be there. Do you know what I mean? And like, so I'm really happy that those things are there, and that's how I'll be remembered, as a bright, happy spark that always wanted to be herself and never cared what anybody thought, and that is how I want to be remembered. And I hope that is how I will be remembered, by all of the stuff that I leave behind, all of the media that's there.
No, I think that's a great answer, by the way. And on that note, thank you so much, Charlotte. You've been absolutely amazing. And to everybody that, for you to come on here and do this and be authentic and be honest, and wish you the best of luck. And like I say, you've been so helpful to me. I want people to know that. You go out your way for the Wavy Gang, and personally, you've helped me with a few things. And I want to thank you for that, Charlotte, because I know you've got loads going on. I will keep looking out for these holograms. I'll keep throwing the ideas
I've
at you.
got about there's a few more coming out this year. The next one's very exciting. And then I've got some more taxi ones. I've got some amazing guests on there as well. So yeah, watch this space, man. More to come from me.
So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe and follow to receive notifications of each of my new shows. Also, make sure you like, share and comment. Thank you so much for listening. And just to let you know, next week, for my next episode, we have got DJ Fantasy. That is one you do not want to miss.